Kia ora koutou, my name's Laura Walters. I'm a senior staff reporter and I'm joined today in our Pōneke newsroom by Susan Freeman-Green, who is the Chief Executive of Local Government New Zealand. Thanks for joining us, Susan.
It's a pleasure.
So we've got a new survey from Local Government New Zealand, which is pretty grim reading, really. It's telling us around about half of elected officials in local government have experienced some kind of racism or gender discrimination in the course of their job. What does that tell us about local body politics?
Well, I think what it does tell us is that local government is not immune from the challenges that the rest of society is facing in some of these areas. It's important we face into it, of course, and I think the first step is actually having the awareness of what's happening and being able to do something about it. The sector, local government, elected members, politicians, they're leaders of their community, they're representatives, and it's important. They want everyone to be seen as upholding sort of values, dignity and respect. So, if I think about it, our president, who by his own admission, Stuart Crosby, has been in local government for nearly 40 years, and by his own admission, he's not a poster boy for diversity, but he is absolutely staunch on this. He wants local democracy. We want local democracy to be a safe and inclusive place for people to work and to be and to contribute. It's such important mahi. What happens in local government is so critical to our communities and how we thrive and live. And I'm just so impressed by the commitment I see from the sector as I visit councils. So, this is information we can't ignore. It is sobering. It is something we have to do something about.
Absolutely. And so you have this data now, but it was quite a small group of respondents, just over 100 people from across the country responded to the survey. I mean, why do you think that was a smaller sample size?
Well, there are lots of reasons why people don't respond to surveys. It's quite a busy time in local government right now, for a start. And, there are situations where it's quite hard to talk about what's happening. But, regardless, we've now got some data that puts something around the anecdotes. And the first step in dealing with challenges like this, and every sector has seen this, every group, every part of society, is to actually have awareness, to acknowledge that there are some challenges to face into, and then to think about what tools and what things we can do to create an inclusive environment so that everyone can contribute. Because we want everyone to contribute. We want our council tables to look like the communities they represent.
Let's talk about that. I mean, we have seen a little bit of an uptick recently in diversity. We've had some progress there. We have more women who are on local bodies. We have seen more representation from Māori. Of course, there's still a long way to go in this area. But when people from more diverse backgrounds see these results, read this data, hear these anecdotes, I mean, what do you think they'll be thinking? Why would they still want to run for local government when this could be the reality they're facing?
Well, I think, what we're looking to do really is not actually push it under the carpet. And so I think it's, what I would be saying is, please stand. We need you. There's never been a more important time in local government in terms of making decisions that are going to affect our future. There's all the reform that's going on at the moment, which is, has some long-reaching impacts. I mean, local government is not just about, parks. It's about the way we live as communities. It's about the places we call home. It's what enables us to thrive. And all these big reforms have some real significance to that. So climate change, we need people who are making decisions about these complex and important areas of our mahi to reflect the communities that will come down the track. And so those decisions are going to be better if all the views are around the table. Surfacing the issue is useful because it means we can do something about it, and we are thinking hard about that at LGNZ with the sector about how we create the right sorts of environments for people to feel safe and inclusive. And we've got lots of plans and we're underway. So if people are thinking of standing and they've got questions, give us a ring. You know, we're more than happy to talk. We've got plans. We're thinking about the life cycle, if you like. I know it's a life cycle. So right now nominations are open. So we're doing quite a lot of work in creating safe campaigning, inclusive campaigning. We've got we're working on that with the Human Rights Commission. We're working with the sector on a really strong induction program for elected members. We're thinking about how we mentor and buddy our elected members. We are using some of our most experienced elected members and council staff to be involved in the early stages, and then we're looking at an ongoing program going forward.
Right.
That's one part. This whole voting and induction piece is one part of a much broader diversity, equity and inclusion focus that we're bringing to our mahi now too. What happens around the council tables is one challenge, but of course we see in local democracy and actually in politics generally an uptick in people in these difficult and charged times. Tackling the person, not the issue.
Yes.
We want really good debate around the issues that we have to think about, and we want to call out behaviour that doesn't reflect that.
And it's good to hear that you have these plans in place for education and support and guidance. But I guess you're touching on that other piece, that broader cultural shift. I mean, how do we do that? Can we change politics, do you think? Obviously local body politics, but politics more broadly, it seems to have become quite toxic. Do you see that we could make a change there?
I think we have to. We are. I went to the rugby on Saturday night, and we didn't do very well, did we? And there were a lot of Irish people in the crowd. And actually, what really struck me is that it was a really good atmosphere. It was a really fair. We're a fair-minded bunch of people. We actually really. We want to have civil discourse. We want to behave with respect and dignity, and we've got to move into that space. And I think there is so much good work and so many committed people and so many people with these values that we have to lean into those, and we have to call out the other stuff where it's got weaponized and massively toxic and challenging. It's not good for democracy, actually. And democracy is about having civil debate, good debate, robust debate, strong debate, but debate about the issues, not about the people.
Absolutely. And obviously this data is focusing on, elected members of local government, but I'm interested in your experience, as a woman leading in a sector that is largely male dominated. I mean, what has your experience been like?
Well, I've got a few years on the clock, and I've always worked in male dominated areas. So I think it's interesting. I've worked and do work and am working beside some really strong male role models and strong allies, and I would just like to say that, and I always have. I'm also, I've also been privileged enough to have opportunities and to be in senior roles where people don't have much escape from paying some attention to what you're saying. So I acknowledge that. I think in today's times where adaptable, flexible, empathetic leadership through some of the sort of complexity we have to face right now is modern leadership. I do think, and I have observed in a number of situations, that type of leadership is a little easier to dismiss for a woman. It's seen as, soft or not tough enough. Whereas, when a male portrays some of those characteristics, are seen as really good, adaptable, modern leaders. And so I think that's a really interesting dynamic. It's some of that subtlety that I think is really interesting. But what I think, for me, what concerns me is hearing what those in the sector say. When people talk about not feeling safe to talk around a council table, when they are intimidated, when they've got a quiet voice, when they feel like they're overspoken, just those subtle parts of being challenged. And I think the environment right now, if you think about, for example, something like Three Waters, which is pretty, has generated quite a lot of heat on a whole range of issues. And, when you think about it, it's so complex and so multi-layered. Three Waters isn't just about water infrastructure. It's about community, and it's about identity, and it's about loss of voice, and it's about how we want to be as a nation going forward, and the ways we should work together or not work together. So it's charged. And I don't think that, I think that doesn't always help us listen to each other. And actually, we have to listen to each other. We have to find ways to actually have conversations that are, that actually, we do have to listen to perspectives that are not our own. That's something that I feel really strongly about. I've learned a lot from the sector myself in my last 18, 20 months about what really matters and what's important. And, I am honestly, it is actually a privilege to work with the sector, because they are undervalued. They do so much good work that no one sees, no one knows. And I'm talking about elected members, but I'm also talking about those who work in council offices. We need to make sure that they can go about their daily work without some of these challenges.
And like you say, these are big issues. They're much bigger than, the old rats, rubbish and rates.
These are massive issues, yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much again for joining us and for, talking about this issue, because it is important that we discuss it and we raise that awareness.
Yeah. So, thank you very much.
Cool.
Lovely.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.